Activity ratios. In this module, you will learn about activity ratios. Miss Ong Tong is a diamond exporter. She purchased diamonds worth only 10 lakh rupees from Mr. Ron, as she doesn't want to overstock. In order to make her payments, she maintains a record of activity ratio, which is her guide to how she can quickly pay off her debts from her available resources. Activity ratios help a company to measure its efficiency of using its available resources. Activity ratios are also called turnover ratios, as this measures how quickly a company can convert certain of its assets into cash. Activity ratios are calculated on sales or cost of goods sold. Activity ratios are expressed in times than percentage. The most common activity ratios include capital turnover ratio, fixed assets turnover ratio, stock turnover ratio, debtors turnover ratio, creditor turnover ratio. Let's look at each separately. Capital turnover ratio. When a businessman invests in a business, he expects best returns and maximum revenue. Capital turnover ratio helps a businessman to measure how effectively his invested capital can produce revenues for the business. A higher ratio indicates better utilization of invested capital. Fixed assets turnover ratio. A company spends a large amount to maintain sufficient and necessary fixed assets. Usually, these assets value at 2/3 of the company's total assets. Inventory or stock turnover ratio. Stock or inventory is one of the most important components of the working capital of a business. Both overstocking and understocking may cause huge losses to a company. In order to calculate stock turnover ratio, divide a company's cost of goods sold by its average stock. A high ratio means efficient use of stock and vice versa. In the absence of cost of goods sold, or if it cannot be ascertained, then the amount of sales may be used. Similarly, if opening stock is not given, then closing stock is considered to be average stock. Debtors turnover ratio. Increasing competition and availability of close substitutes in the market have made it necessary for a businessman to come up with fresh ideas to increase their sales. Credit sale of goods is one of such marketing strategy to increase sales. After a credit sale, it is important to recover the amount due from debtors on time to make up the liquidity of a business. Debtors turnover ratio indicates the speed at which sundry debtors can be converted into cash. Debtors turnover ratio or receivable turnover ratio is calculated by dividing net credit sales by average debtors. A higher ratio signifies quick collection of debts, whereas a low ratio suggests low liquidity. A low ratio indicates slow rate of repayment to creditors, while a high ratio indicates quick settlement of creditors by a firm.